Hey guys and girls, Emma again. Welcome back to another episode of this Patreon project. Better start on this base. It's a nice aluminium casting. There's a couple of little jobs need to be done to it. I've got into it with the belt sander and just finished it off. Or it had a bit of a rock in it, and it still does there. On here, it's high on this corner and this corner, and low on this corner and this corner, so it doesn't need a lot off it. And if I can sand that so that it's nice and smooth, all that's going to do is bolt on a block of wood basically. There's 4 screws or a stand or some sort of a plinth with cemented in concrete or whatever happens to get it on something that the whole engine will be a complete unit that I can lift around. So whether it has wheels or whatever, I don't know. It's probably not really an engine I'd put on wheels, but probably a timber base with a couple of cross rails to mount these on. It's probably going to be heap strong enough. This is a pretty solid little casting, and it's bolted onto another really solid rigid casting, so I don't think we're going to get a lot of distortion with it. But we want to finish this so that it's nice and flat. And right now we've got a rock, and I don't know where it is. I think it's pivoting right in the centre there, so I'd say that the high spot's probably here. If I give that a rub with a file across the middle there, and we'll see what it looks like. If we have a look here and see it's touching here and here on your file, but not here in the middle. So I don't think that, although it's pivoting right on the centre, I think that this is high through here. So I've got this pretty good. What I've done is got it somewhere near close, and then I've just given it a rub on a sheet of 600 on the stone, on the surface plate here, which probably isn't the world's best treatment of the surface plate, but we can see where it was touching just here, and I think probably slightly here, and here it was rocking on, sitting there and there and there. It still seems to be rubbing here and not so much here, so I'm going to give that a bit more and just see if I can get it somewhere near so it's not rocking. So that's pretty close there, and I think we're going to call that done. Looking at the top surface, we've got a bit of a rock too. That's probably more critical. Now we've got this one flat. We could probably bolt this down and machine the top here. That would be a nice thing to do. I'm not convinced that I'm going to get it any better by machining it in my equipment. If we bolted this down on the mill table with a clamp here, maybe we could get half of it and then get the other half, and we could probably clean it up somewhere near. I think we're going to find that it's going to be this shape anyway when we do it, and probably a closer way to do it would be to just give it a bit of a rub on a bit of wet and dry. See, that's got a bit of a high spot there. And a lot of a high spot there. So we're just having a look here. It's starting to scratch there. And there. It's not scratching anywhere along that side. It's a bit high there. And it's just scratching there. And just scratching there. So it's a fraction low here in this corner, and most of this is low. So we're looking at that, and the high spots here and here, probably here, here and here, and that sits pretty nicely there on those 3 points, but it's not touching. It's touching there and there, it's not touching this end or this end. So just a matter of cleaning it up until we get it so that it's touching all over. We've got a low spot in here, and we've got a low spot in here. I don't think it's very much, and I don't think it'll take a lot of cleaning up. Give this a light rub on the belt sander here and here, and see if we can bring it closer. Well, I don't know how easy this is to see, but this isn't far out, I think. I've just given it a rub on a bit of wet and dry, and then checked it and checked it and checked it and checked it. I haven't scraped it because aluminium, and it's going to scratch up easier than it's going to scrape. But if we have a look here, that's on 0 there comfortably. That's very difficult to see, and I apologise for that. I don't know if that's any better. We see that. Cast a bit of light over there. 0, we're about probably negative 1/1000 of an inch on this end. I think we can see that. We're negative 1/1000 there. Far out. It's almost impossible here to set up. We're about 1/1000 all the way along there. If we're careful here. And we're -2 there, -1 there, and we're about 1/1000 all the way along. So we've got a bit of shrinkage in here too. That's the next thing really to deal with. I'm going to turn that off because we're getting a bit of glare, but this here isn't high. We have a look, it probably is a little bit, and I might give it a rub again, but it does need a bit of JB Weld in here just to clean this up, and that might be the next job. So I might mix some up and put in there and clean that up. Then we'll mark these holes, and it probably can't really mark these until we get the other casting on top, but we might put a coat of undercoat on it and give it a clean up. So I've marked these holes with the 3 I'm going to drill now, just with the scribe block. Fairly straightforward. And centre punched them. These will probably have wood screws in them or something like that. It might have bolts through them, but I'll put them in place and drill them. It's not going to be a huge deal where they are, as long as they look pretty neat and they're the same distance from each side and in the middle. So I've centre punched those, and I'm going to drill these. If we have a look at the book here, these holes on the full size one look to be about 3/8. On that scale, I would say about 3/8. That's a little bit bigger than the scale we're working at, so there's 932 roughly. .1, 7.2 millimeters. Let's have a look at 7.2 millimeters and see how it's going to look here. Probably pretty good. We're never going to find 932 screws, so 1/4 inch. So let's go about 6.5. From then, we'll know that 6.6, and that means 1/4 inch bolts will fit. And that gives us as much meat on the outside as we possibly can. So looking at 6.6, that looks pretty good. I'm going to drill them and report back when I'm done. So there we go, we've got hold down bolts, which is pretty cool. And we've got this flat to within about 1/1000 of an inch all over, as far as tilt and twist, and it's touching on the plate everywhere, so pretty happy with that. There's no rock in the bottom here. Everything looks pretty good. I think that's probably good enough. Going to give it a coat of undercoat, and while the undercoat's still wet, I'm going to wipe the top surface off, just for contrast, because it makes it a little bit easier to see on video. And we'll probably have to put a little bit more. I've put some JB Weld in here just to fill up this bit of shrinkage, but probably it might need a little bit of body filler in there. I'm not sure anywhere. It's all a pretty nice casting. So that's the next job. Get rid of the surface plate, get rid of the angle plate, put everything away, give this a spray coat or undercoat and a wipe off on top, and we'll call this video done. So anyway, there we go. Pretty happy with that. We're ready to drill these holes here when we get the bottom of the other casting ready. Probably we'll just transfer these through here and centre punch them and drill them and tap them. I think these 6 bolt down holes these 6 bolt down holes are going to be about 3/16, 4BA, something like that. It's pretty straightforward into the aluminium. There's plenty of body in there to hold the thing down. This needs a cork gasket on here for a couple of reasons. One is to insulate it. Second is to fill up some of the gaps. Probably won't be too many. But this here is part of the water jacket, and it seals on the underside of the water jacket here. So it does probably corks the best. I'm not sure about that. We'll find something to insulate this and put it down, and insulation is probably good to stop electrolysis between the two parts when they've got water in them. So that's my thoughts on that. Give us some idea what sort of size this engine is. That's a 12-inch rule. And if we have a look, that's the casting for the flywheel. So it's a pretty stocky little engine. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching it on Patreon, big thanks, huge thanks for all that you do and making this possible. It's a beautiful little engine. I'm really enjoying this build and really appreciate all your input. Leave a comment, give me some feedback, tell me whether you think this is going to be good enough, and be kind to each other. More soon, guys and girls.